want to be near a mic. I have some things to say.
New wheels. Got a new car.
How can I get in over here?
Yeah, he stole somebody's.
Thank you all very much. That was wonderful. We're now going to proceed to the articles of the Town of Mashpee Annual Town Meeting for Monday, October 16th, 2017. Article number 1, Selectman O'Hara.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. It's a pleasure to have you here tonight. And thank you all for coming as well. Oh, too far away. Thank you all for coming. Mr. Moderator, I move the town vote to appropriate and transfer the sum of $20.
Take it off. Take it off.
That better? All right, we're on. Mr. Moderator, I move the town vote to appropriate and transfer the sum of $27,145 from revenue available for appropriation for the principal inside 2.5 account.
Second.
FinCon.
Finance Committee recommends approval.
Any discussion on Article 1? Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Article number 2, Selectman John Cotton.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I move the town to vote and amend the supplement each prior vote of town that authorized the borrowing of money to pay capital project costs to provide that, in accordance with Chapter 44, Section 20 of the General Laws, as amended by the Acts of 2016, Chapter 218 and 67, the premium received by the town upon the sale of any bonds or notes thereunder, less the costs of preparing, issuing, and marketing such bonds or notes, may be applied to pay project costs, and the amount authorized to be borrowed for each such project shall be reduced by the amount of any such premium so applied.
Second.
FinCon.
Finance Committee recommends town meeting approval.
Any discussion on Article 2? Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Article number 3, Selectman Carol Sherman.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I move the town vote to appropriate and transfer $325,000 from the Assessors Overlay Surplus Account to the Assessors Reevaluation Account.
Second.
FinCon.
The Finance Committee recommends town meeting approval.
Any discussion from the audience on Article 3? Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Article number 4, Selectman John Cahalan.
Mr. Moderator, I move the town vote to appropriate and transfer pursuant to the provisions of Mass General Laws, Chapter 44B, Section 6, to reserve from the FFW 2018 Estimated Community Preservation Revenues the following amounts: $150,906, 10% for open space recreational purposes; $150,906, 10% for historic preservation purposes; $150,906, 10% for affordable housing purposes; $1,016,341 to the FY 2018 Community Preservation Fund budget for appropriation reserve as recommended by the Community Preservation Committee.
Second.
Mr. Moderator,
Finance Committee,
just
Yes.
like to ask for correction on the last item, the million, one, is that right? That's correct? Okay. All right, never mind.
What you heard is correct, FinCom.
Finance Committee recommends town meeting approval.
Any discussion on this article? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, unanimous. Article 5, Selectman Andrew Gottlieb.
Mr. Moderator, I move the town vote to appropriate and transfer from the Community Preservation Budget for Appropriation Reserve in accordance with the provisions of Mass General Law, Chapter 44B, Section 5, the sum of $420,000 for the purpose of funding a pickleball court construction project with parking and related site amenities at 156 Ashumet Road, Mashpee, including necessary costs and expenses related thereto, as recommended by the Community Preservation Committee.
Second.
FinCom.
The Finance Committee recommends town meeting approval.
Before we vote on this, I feel it's only fair that you receive an explanation as to why the first part of this article, to the tune of $315,000, was not deemed appropriate to be heard tonight. And I'm going to call on the DPW Director, Catherine Laurent, to give an explanation on this article.
Good evening. As it states in the explanation for the article, there were two sites that were originally considered for construction of the pickleball courts. The first site, which was on Main Street, 400 Main Street, which is where the current community gardens are, we initiated the permitting for that site. It is in the historic district, and we did not receive a favorable approval of the historic district, and so at that point decided to move on to the second site, which, because of the site conditions, it was the more costly of the two.
Thank you. Is there any discussion on this article?
There's a couple.
The original motion for $420,000?
Over to your right, Ed.
Yes. Please state your name and address.
George Chucky Green, 137 Meeting House Road, Mashpee. And I am so glad to hear the selectmen step up and produce it, and Catherine to say, okay, let's move the location. It was of great concern to me that this historic location, Solomon Adequin, and maybe you guys up in the front aren't aware of this, but he was the very first selectman ever here in Mashpee. And he was a Wampanoag entrepreneur that built something there that was special. We had Grover Cleveland, we had Daniel Webster, we had a multitude of dignitaries that came there to hunt, fish, and forage using Wampanoag guides to guide them to places where things were. Our islands within the pond are named after the presidents that visited. So besides the fact that there was serious safety issues as well, we've lost children along that piece of roadway because of the traffic coming from both directions at ridiculous speeds. So we had, back in the past, chose Heritage Park to develop as a recreational facility. We have extra parking that would have been available to this facility if it was there, and now it looks like it may be there. So I am very pleased with the actions of this board. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion on this article?
There's one more.
Sure.
You have one more at the same place.
One more.
Wanina Khan, Jesse Baird, 21 Meeting House Road, Mashpee. I am the vice chairwoman of the Historic District Commission. I am here with my chairman, Earl Mills, and I'm up here tonight because Earl's taken a little bit of a rest unless he gets his dander up. But I do want to say that I echo what Chucky just said, And I also want to say that the Historic District Commission's job is to keep things in line with what was in the historic district. So if we're making construction projects there, they should be in line with what was acceptable and usual for the historic district. Having 8 paved courts of any kind on a historic location of the Hotel Adequan is not in keeping with that district, besides the fact that it would be less than 200 feet from the river, which is not within our purview. But for these reasons, as well as the fact that we have not, I don't think, had 8 pickleball games in the history of this town, to put up 8 pickleball courts, I think is excessive wherever we put it. So the Historic District Commission does not recommend it. And I would like to see the article postponed until it is in the proper shape to put a pickleball court where other sporting activities currently are in the town. Thank you.
Thank you. This will be the last speaker on this article, and I'm going to call for a vote. Yes.
Susan Williams, 262 Monomoskoy Road. I have several questions. Has there been a survey of the number of persons interested in pickleball? Who is going to participate? And as the previous speaker spoke, why 8 courts? Could we start off with a lesser number? There will be maintenance involved with this over time, and who's going to pay for that? And is it only for Mashpee residents, and how are you going to control that usage, as we've seen at the dog park?
Thank you. I hope that you've heard to vote on this article sufficient reason as to why the first part, for a lesser amount, is out of order. It is not deemed a suitable purpose in a historic district. So we're going to take up the article as it was presented to you for a vote. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? No. The ayes have it. Vote is passed. Okay, we're moving on to Article 6. Selectman Thomas O'Hara, please.
Mr. Moderator, I move the town vote to appropriate and transfer from the community preservation 10% open space recreational reserves in accordance with the provisions of Mass General Law, Chapter 44B, Section 5, the sum of $121,500 for the purpose of funding the Aquay Bay Boat Ramp Improvement Project, Phase 2, including necessary costs and expenses related thereto, as recommended by the Community Preservation Committee.
Second.
Finance Committee recommends town meeting approval.
Any discussion on this article, please? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No. Article passes. Article number 7. Selectman John Cotton, please.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I move the town vote to appropriate and transfer the sum of $20,000 from the Waterways Improvement Fund to the Department of Natural Resources Equipment Expense Account for the purpose of purchasing equipment, hardware, and maintenance of waterways by the Department of Natural Resources Harbor Master.
Second.
FinCom.
Finance Committee recommends town meeting approval.
Any discussion on this article? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Unanimous. Article number 8, Selectman Carol Sherman.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I move the town vote to appropriate and transfer the sum of $39,000 from the Waterways Improvement Fund to the Waterways Dredging Account to cover the cost associated with dredging 3,000 cubic yards of sediment from the Great River, Little River Channel.
Second.
Finance Committee recommends town meeting approval.
Any discussion on this article? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Unanimous. Article number 9, Selectman John Cahalan, please.
Mr. Moderator, I move the town vote to appropriate and transfer the sum of $65,000 from the Waterways Improvement Fund to the Waterways Dredging Account to cover the cost associated with the dredging of 5,000 cubic yards of sediment from the Papaneset Approach Channel.
Second.
Good, John.
Finance Committee recommends town meeting approval.
Any discussion on this article? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Unanimous. Article number 10, Selectman Andrew Gottlieb.
Mr. Moderator, I move the town vote to authorize the Board of Selectmen to acquire, by gift or otherwise, title to that certain parcel of land identified on Mashpee Assessor's Map 120 as parcel 58 and located at 270 Monomoskoye Road in Mashpee, Barnstable County, Massachusetts, consisting of .377 acres, more or less, to be held for general municipal purposes, including use for the cultivation and collection of shellfish and other aquaculture activities conducted under the direction and control of the Mashpee Department of Natural Resources, and to authorize the Board of Selectmen to enter into all agreements and execute any and all instruments on behalf of the town as may be necessary to effect this transfer of title.
Second.
Been gone.
The Finance Committee recommends town meeting approval.
Any discussion on this article? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Unanimous. Article number 11, Selectman Thomas O'Hara.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. The Board of Selectmen recommends town meeting approval by a vote of 4-0-1. I'm sorry. I move the town vote to authorize the Conservation Commission to enter into a 30-year lease in consideration of nominal payment to the town and other public environmental benefits to be provided by a prospective leasee with respect to that certain parcel of town-owned land identified on Mashpee Assessors Map 85 as parcel 1/0 and located at 91 Milford Road, as known as Childs River Conservation Area, in Mashpee, Barnstable County, Massachusetts, consisting of 24.70 acres, more or less, for the purpose of facilitating implementation of the Childs River Restoration Project and improving the conservation, recreation, and open space qualities of the subject land, consistent with the permitted uses of said land under Article 97 of the amendments to the Massachusetts Declaration of Rights, and to authorize the Conservation Commission to enter into all agreements and to execute any and all instruments on behalf of the town as may be necessary to effect such a lease.
Second.
Finance Committee.
Finance Committee recommends town meeting approval.
This is called for a 2/3 vote. Oh, first of all, is there any discussion on this article? Seeing none, I need a 2/3 vote. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? I declare it a 2/3 vote. Article 12, I am going to hold up for a minute. I'm going to make sure that, number one, the microphone works okay, and number two, that everybody that wants to come in is here. Would somebody please check?
I'll let you know when he gives the word. Good, thumbs up.
Good to go.
Good to go.
I hear we're good to go, that everybody that wants to participate is here. On this particular article, I'm sorry? I have our attendance figure for this evening. It's 320 people. Very good. It's an improvement over the last one, I believe. On this article, I'm calling on Selectman John Cotton for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I move the town to vote and approve Article 12 as printed in the warrant with the exception of the phrase, "or take any other action relating thereto," and to incorporate the bylaw on Chapter 48, marijuana establishments, 48-1 in the general bylaws.
Second.
Mr. McKelvey?
FinCom?
Yes, the FinCom committee voted 2-4 not to recommend this article for town meeting approval.
Is there discussion on this article?
My name is Singer. I live in Cranberry Avenue.
Over here to my left, please. Oh, what? Please identify yourself, name and address.
Name is Singer. Address is 29 Cranberry Avenue.
I can't hear you. Somebody please check that.
Hello?
Okay.
My name is Singer. I live in Cranberry Avenue, and I would like to ask Mr. McKelvey how he voted on this article and the reasons that he voted for or against it.
As far as that's concerned,
Thank you for
I
the
don't-
question, Sam.
He was reporting, I believe, the vote of the FinCom.
Correct. He asked me why I
Not
voted, sir.
necessarily a personal position on this. If you have something regarding the article that doesn't deal with personalities, I'd be happy to hear it.
Mr. Moderator, I'm a member of this committee. I'd like to speak. I would like to answer the question.
That's fine. You volunteer for that, sure.
Thank you.
Go ahead, please.
I voted, I'll speak for myself. I'm not speaking for the committee. I voted against the moratorium for two primary reasons. The first reason is that it does not answer the primary question. Should recreational marijuana be allowed in Mashpee? This does not answer that question. It kicks it down the road 15 months or so till we have to deal with it again, and we may not deal with it again, who knows. And I think that's a question that has to be answered. Does Mashpee want recreational marijuana or not? That's the article that should be on the warrant tonight. The second issue is finances. Mashpee, as I've been on this committee now for just over a year, my eyes have been open to the financial records of the town. And folks, we're on a precipice, thank you, of where we're going. And unless there's increase in revenue or cuts in service by 2021, Mashpee's tax situation will be dire. And those two things are on my mind. But you can't really have a debate about the finances until you answer the primary question. Should it be allowed in Mashpee or not? And that's the article that should be up tonight, and that's why I voted not to recommend.
If I can add?
Thank you.
Can I add?
Yes.
I'm David Del Ponte, member of the Finance Committee, obviously, and I also voted against this because I want to see the issue called for a town vote, get it decided once and for all. And it's my understanding, should this article fail tonight, then that would trigger or precipitate a follow-up town meeting where the fundamental issue would be voted upon. And we need to make a decision. Do we go forward with this or don't we? And if we, at that subsequent town meeting where we're going to vote either yes or no, if it turns out to be no, then we can leave it behind us once and forever. If it turns out to be yes, then I think we have the abilities within this town to promulgate reasonable rules and regulations, to take leadership on this issue, and not wait for Beacon Hill and the political machinations that have done nothing but a disservice, I think, to all the members of the community to postpone this, I think, pretty important issue, and also I think it is an abridgment of basic democratic rights where the state has voted to approve this, and it just keeps getting delayed and delayed and delayed, and I don't want to see that trickle down to the town level too. So, let's just tackle this issue head on and quit fooling around with these delaying tactics.
Okay, thank you. Before we go any further, I want to make a statement in regards to this article. I want to make it clear that this article calls for a yes or no vote on a moratorium, simply a moratorium. We're not here to discuss the merits or non-merits of recreational marijuana. And I'm going to, for time's sake, and to be fair with everybody who took the time to attend tonight and those watching, we could sit here all night long, tonight, tomorrow night, and the next week, talking about the ayes and nays of recreational marijuana. That's not what this article is about. You're voting yes or no strictly on a moratorium. Did one of the selectmen have something to say on this?
Yeah, I will.
I would.
Go ahead, John.
Actually, at a recent counseling meeting, we had councilman meeting. We have found out that over 2/3 of the local towns have voted for a moratorium. All it is giving us an opportunity to decide what the state is coming down with their laws. The state is very far away from having any regulations or any committee in place to manage what's going to happen. So at this point, all the moratorium is, like I said, is for us to give us an opportunity to decide what we should do as far as the laws and where they could be, and then at that point, we will come back to the town to make a decision whether you want recreational marijuana or not.
Mr. Moderator, I just want to put out a couple of comments. One is that the issue of the moratorium, you have a couple of choices under the law. You can take no local action, in which case recreational facilities will be cited pursuant to state regulations that have yet to be drafted, so you don't know what they're going to say, what the impact on the community is going to be. You could vote to permanently ban it in town, which is not before you tonight. Or you can take this moratorium that gives the town an opportunity, and that's the recommended action from this board, gives you the opportunity to allow the rules and regulations governing retail marijuana sales to be determined by the State Cannabis Control Commission. And at the time that we become aware of what the rules of the road are going to be, we'd be able to come back to the town with a series of warrant articles that would establish what, if any, local regulations you as a town body want to impose on the retail sale of marijuana. So the recommendation from this board is that we give ourselves the time to see what the rules are going to be. We foreclose nothing by doing the moratorium. And I think that, so those are the general facts of the issue. From a perspective on what makes sense for the community, I think that it's most likely that if the moratorium fails, the signal we're going to get from the townspeople, I think, is that they want retail marijuana to happen, and what you will likely see in the future at a subsequent town meeting would be zoning rules and regulations that would govern where they go and how many there would be. I would think it would be kind of unlikely that you're going to see the board put an article on the warrant that would ban it if you tell us tonight you don't want a moratorium. So I think, think about the implications of the decision about how many bites at the apple you're going to get. Tonight you're going to get the opportunity to put the question off until you have enough information, in our opinion, to make an informed decision.
Okay, thank you.
And Ed, I'll just jump in for 1 minute, if you
Selectman
don't mind, Mr.
O'Hara,
Moderator.
please.
Andrew's right. This is an opportunity to buy some time. Let the dust settle. Let's find out what the rules and regulations are going to be and how they're going to affect the communities and towns so we can protect our children and our families. But no matter what happens here, the ultimate will be, it has always been this board's opinion that it would always come back to you, the voters, to make the decision. You would make the vote whether you want sales when the time comes, yes or no. That's what it'll be when the time comes. We're just looking for an opportunity to take the moratorium right now and buy some time. Thank you.
Okay, if anybody from the audience has anything that's pertinent to the moratorium, we'll hear it at this time. To your left. My left here.
Sure. I'm Robert Flaherty, Anthony's Way.
I think I can be heard without going
I'm sorry, sir. Somebody's speaking.
I'm in favor of the moratorium. Anything that will put this off so that ultimately we can defeat it in this town, I think is what I'm strongly in favor of. I think the fact that our town could make several $1 million a year off of the recreational marijuana certainly would help our finances, but I think it goes at cross purposes to raising our children and sending a unified message about the effect of psychoactive substances on our brains. And I won't go further. I'll leave it at that.
Excuse me, yes. I want to make it clear again. We're not dealing with pros and cons of recreational marijuana. This is strictly information and discussion on the moratorium.
With all due respect, may I reply?
To the right.
I find that divorcing those two concepts is somewhat...
Identify yourself, please, sir.
Adam Higgins, 174
Impossible.
Lowell Road, Mashpee.
Sir, are you a registered voter?
I am.
You're a registered voter? I'm hearing that you're not a registered voter.
Oh,
Are you a tax... Excuse me, sir. Are you a taxpayer in the town of Mashpee?
Absolutely resident
Then under
and
our charter,
registered.
then under
and
our
registered
charter,
voter.
you're allowed to speak. Now, I'm going to limit to maximum 3 minutes unless I hear a lot of material that I feel is inappropriate and out of order. Go ahead, sir.
All right, I am a registered voter just as of the 6th, so I didn't make the 26th cutoff. I apologize. That was my error. Yeah, my name's Adam Higgins, 174 Lowell Road, Mashpee. I represent a group, regulateCapeCod.org. Some of the councilmen might be familiar with us from a presentation this Friday. But anyway, it's, I have to commend FinCom for their, very courageous decision because they, prefaced it perfectly. This is just a delay in a decision. If you want a ban, then let's put the moratorium aside and talk about it for real. This is a great opportunity, as Mr. Cotton said. Now, I would say that that opportunity is permanently damaged with a moratorium, which limits our options. It's permanently saying, okay, whatever the state does, whether they drag their feet or whether they're ready for the summer season, we're not going to be ready for the summer season, and we're going to let the black market take control. The black market will expand over the summer season with the 800,000 additional customers that flood the market. We need to be ready.
Excuse me, sir, you're getting into an area that I indicated.
So this is a temporary prohibition.
Excuse me.
Sorry, Mr. Larkin.
It wouldn't be fair to everybody sitting here. We want to move along. We want to get to a decision on this for the moratorium strictly. I don't care at this point to hear possibilities that we don't know about. So please limit your conversation to the moratorium itself. Yea or nay?
The moratorium removes our flexibility. We cannot be agile. We won't be able to do anything until December 18. This presents two significant risks: permanent damage to the tax revenue. Other investment will be made in other towns. This is a critical thing. And criminals will remain in control of the market until December 2018. We need to make a decision. We need to step up for our children, for every other resident, for everybody in this room.
Okay, thank you, sir. Does somebody over here wanted to speak?
Hello, my name is Asia Atwood. I'm in Captain's Row. I heard your comments about keeping it to the moratorium, and I expect to do just that. You can't hear me? Can you hear me now?
I can't hear you.
All right, good. Gosh. My name is Asia Atwood. I live in Captain's Row, and I did hear what you said about keeping it towards the moratorium, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. So my question is, why is the timing December of 2018 as the Cannabis Control Commission are slated to give their regulations by March for approval in April? So waiting all the way into December will put us behind the 8 ball, so to speak, if we decide to move forward with this in some capacity. It does take some time to get prepared and to have product and to have everything in alignment, and pushing it all the way to December seems as though we're hoping to kick this down the road to the point where people won't care anymore.
Okay, thank you. I hear your question.
Mr. Moderator.
Why is it delayed till 2018?
Mr. Moderator,
and I have a response from
the law allows the moratorium to go until December. It could be lifted by town meeting action earlier, if we have rules and regulations and we feel like it's appropriate to bring back the question of making a change or ending the moratorium earlier. Nothing related to state regulation of medical marijuana has proceeded on time, and so it was our collective opinion that we should present you with a time frame that it was the maximum allowed under the law, with the ability, should we choose to come back and suggest the town meeting consider waiving it earlier than the deadline.
As a resident of Mashpee, what can I do to get this to be moved up a little bit in the timeline, if at all, anything? Write to you, call?
I think we're waiting to see what the state regulations are.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I think your question has been answered. Over here to the right.
Christopher Nelson, 30 Palmer Road. With all due respect to the Board of Selectmen, the indication that I've just heard in your discussion says that based on the feedback they're going to get tonight is whether we're going to institute a ban or institute, regulations, which tells me that the town can set regulations ahead of time before the moratorium needs to be in place and the state can provide this information. We gave $10 million to the school at this last meeting. Thank you, town, for doing so, and thank you, Finance Committee, for identifying that the upcoming season, as with the ban in place for 2018, is going to reduce tax revenue. Teen marijuana use is at its lowest percentage in 20 years, including in the state of Colorado. Much to the respect, good sir, down on my right, the teens are not using marijuana, and banishing this and eliminating the tax revenue ahead of time is not appropriate. Despite what we've decided as a town, the state has said it's legal. We should reap the revenue that we can, not banish it. The Finance Committee has identified we need the money. I want to raise my family here. We need tax revenue. If this is an opportunity, then we should not eliminate one of the busiest seasons here.
Thank you.
Bill.
I have a response from Selectman Cahalan, please.
I personally don't even know how I feel, whether I want it or I don't want it. I have been reading. I've been to every meeting that I could go to. I can do. The only thing I can tell you right now, and I don't think anyone, whether it's a household decision, a business decision, or anything else, as of right now, they just appointed and got together a 5-man cannabis board. They are going to make every single regulation and rule. Not one is made right now. To make things worse, at the last meeting we were at, we're told they haven't even been funded to have a secretary yet. So you're looking down the road. I don't know how anyone could sit down and make a decision whether you want it or you don't want it. You got to remember, the state in this particular thing will be the one who's picking the people who are coming in to run these places. We do not have a say on it right now. We might when the regulations come. These are things that we will want to ask. We'll want to ask about the infrastructure, there's an extra 3%. Does that just pay for a pair of signal lights, or can we ask for education for the school? These are all things that might make someone who's against it right now think, boy, maybe I'm for it. If it comes out the other way, you'd probably think, what do we need that aggravation for? It's just a moratorium to protect us so that they can't shove it down our throat. We, as a board, for 3 years now have been said it will always come down to a final vote of our residents, yes or no, up or down. Do you want it or don't you want it? And we still feel that way unless someone else here feels differently.
We all do.
Nope. Thank you for your time.
Okay, we've heard.
It's to your left, Ed. Left.
Over to my left here.
Yvonne Courtney, Prestwick Lane, Mashpee. I want to commend the selectmen for taking the stand on the moratorium. They've spent the time to investigate it, and I think we should vote for the ban. Over 90% of the communities in the Commonwealth have voted this way. So I don't understand why people want to vote opposite to that. There must be some strong reasons why so many communities have voted for the ban. The second point is people keep bringing up taxes. I remember a community called Atlantic City. They voted to bring in gambling, and that was going to solve their financial difficulties, and it did not. Many of those companies that came in went into bankruptcy. So I don't want to talk about issues, but I think it's important for us to think about the ramifications for voting on something and we don't know what is going to happen. Wait for the commission to see what issues they bring forward. We cannot go into something opening the town up to liabilities down the future. So vote yes on the moratorium.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to hear one more speaker on this to my right, and then I'm going to call for a vote. I feel as though it's been amply discussed, and I feel it's appropriate to call for a vote at this time.
There's three more.
One more speaker to my right.
Three more, Ed.
There were 3 more.
Okay, I'll go 3 more speakers. Please keep it brief and to the point, okay? Fair enough?
Mine is very brief and to the point. I'm Donna Erdman, Leeward Lane. And I'm just...
Sorry, I can't hear you.
Donna Erdman, Leeward Lane. Mine is very brief. I have a question because I was reading the warrant, and it says that the town will review regarding the uses and establishments and engage in a public planning process. And I'm just trying to understand what that public planning process would be. Would that be an open meeting like this? Would it be a meeting at the town hall? When would we find out about it, and how would we be able to participate? Anybody tell me that?
Okay, thank you. Somebody from the board, please
I'd be
respond.
happy to. I can address that.
Okay, town council will address that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Any restriction or local regulation adopted by the town of Mashpee regarding recreational or retail marijuana sales would have to be implemented by bylaw. The Board of Selectmen has indicated that they absolutely would plan to have public meetings relative to any proposed general bylaw that would ban or regulate recreational marijuana establishments in town. If we go the route of a zoning bylaw regulation, which would be able to regulate the time, place, and manner of distribution and cultivation of recreational marijuana, that would be subject to the public hearing process before the planning board, such as all zoning bylaws are. So there would absolutely be public meetings, public hearings for public input from citizens of the town in advance to any final determination being made on what type of articles to submit to town meeting for your approval. So the reason for the moratorium, quite frankly, is to determine what type or nature of regulations may be promulgated by the Cannabis Control Commission so that those local planning processes can proceed in an appropriate course. So to answer your question, there will be public forums, there will be opportunities for the public to have input either prior to the adoption of a general or zoning bylaw.
Thank you. I'm going to hear from 2 more speakers, one to my left
No,
here.
they're both on the right. They're both on the right.
I'm sorry, to the right.
Corrine Wickel, River Road. I think that we should listen to our selectmen and not be swayed by the promise of revenues that we don't know what they are going to be, and make a decision based on that alone, that the town is going to benefit from increased revenues when we don't even know what the regulations are going to be. So how can you make an informed decision on something without all the information? By going for the moratorium, it just allows everyone, pro or con, to be more educated in the decision that is to be made that is going to impact the town, whether it be for or against recreational facilities in our town, which will bring in revenues. So let's not be swayed by the dollar and what that can do for us, because we don't even know what the regulations that the state and the Cannabis Commission is going to be bringing forth. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. One more speaker to my left here.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. William Cromwell, 104 Old Barnstable Road. Barnstable, Cromwell, C-R-O-M, not B-R-O-M. No. You're getting close. C-R-O-M-W-E-L-L. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I believe we've heard ample discussion on this. Your vote is what counts. So
Am I going to... Hey!
This is a majority vote.
May I speak, please?
Let him-
You've given me the floor. Mr. Moderator, in all
This
due
is the last
regards.
speaker.
All right. I would like to say before we get lost, you got a yes and a no. And sometimes you're voting the wrong way when you say yes, and sometimes you're voting the wrong way when you say no. I just ask that we get a clarification from the members of what no is and what yes is, and then vote.
That's fair.
Fair enough. Somebody want to address it? Town council. Town council will address that, and then we're going to call for a vote.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. A yes vote would approve a bylaw implementing a moratorium, which means no local permitting or approval for any marijuana facility will take place or be allowed in Mashpee through December 31, 2018. A no vote would reject the bylaw imposing the moratorium. It would subject the town to potential early application at the state level and allowance of a marijuana facility here in Mashpee prior to us having an opportunity to review the regulations and adopt a bylaw. The moratorium is not substantive. It's a procedural delay in the ability of any proposed establishment to come into the town of Mashpee. A yes vote would hold that date off until December 31, 2018, unless a town meeting in the interim rescinds that bylaw and approves other bylaws. A no vote on the moratorium would open up Mashpee as a potential site for recreational or retail marijuana establishments in the interim period of time.
Mr. Moderator, real quick on that. If I remember correctly, the laws go like April 1st, and that's after April 1st they can get an application in. But before April 1st, if we voted against the moratorium, we could have town meeting to decide the issue whether or not to have recreational marijuana in Mashpee or not. Is that correct?
That is correct. The Board of Selectmen, as noted earlier, can call a special town meeting anytime it so chooses. If the moratorium is rejected here tonight, in all likelihood, the board would be compelled to call such a special town meeting in advance of the regulations coming out to avoid having Mashpee be a potential location for such facilities prior to us adopting our own regulations at a May town meeting, the annual town meeting in May.
Okay, thank you. Just before I call for the vote, simply want to state that a yes vote on this does not mean you're in favor of marijuana, recreational marijuana. A no vote does not necessarily mean that you're against recreational marijuana. We're looking for a yes or no vote on a moratorium only. All those in favor of the moratorium, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No. The ayes have it. Motion is passed.
I want a recount. I want a hand count.
Yeah, I'll point of order.
You question the vote?
Yes, I do question the vote. I'd
Okay,
have
we'll have everybody who is in favor of this, who voted aye, please hold your card up.
Keep it held. Good. I have to keep it held up.
Please hold them up until we say otherwise.
I got it.
All set, please, you can take your hands down now. Thank you. All those opposed, please raise your card.
Hold on, let's get
Wait
this.
a minute. Okay, we'll get the, can you, are we satisfied with the aye count?
No,
Are we complete? How many do you have?
88.
Okay.
Okay. Is that all three numbers?
Okay, now it's time for the nay vote. Please hold your card up.
Moratorium has it.
I want to thank you all for your patience this evening. I tried to be fair. I know it's very difficult standing up here trying to listen to everybody. I knew it would be a great deal of discussion on this. And as I said before, if we were talking about discussing recreational marijuana, we'd be here all night.
Yes passes. Yes passes with 173.
73 to 69.
Yes.
Oh, okay, wait a minute, 46. 46 years, 26.
That's more yeses. That's okay.
9,
46 yes,
219, hold on, 5. 219 and 95 in favor.
The vote is 219 in favor, 95 opposed. Motion carries. We have 9 more articles to go, so let's hope that we can get through them in good fashion. And thank you again for your patience and understanding. Article 13, I'll call on Carol Sherman, Selectman Sherman.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I move to indefinitely postpone Article 13.
Second.
Finance Committee agrees with the select.
FinCom agrees with that. Is there any discussion on the postponement?
Mr.
All those in
Moderator.
favor, please say aye.
You have somebody at the mic.
Sorry, there's a question.
Mr. Moderator. Hi.
I'm
So,
sorry.
Mary Wagon, Chair of the Planning Board. After a public meeting held on October 4th, 2017, the Planning Board made no recommendation on Article 13, as it was to be indefinitely postponed.
Thank you. I'm sorry I didn't call them a planning board because it was made by the issue was presented by the Board of Selectmen. Okay, all those in favor of postponement, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It carries. The ayes carry. Article 14, submitted by the Planning Board. Selectman John Cahalan, please.
Mr. Moderator, I move the town vote to approve Article 14 as printed in the warrant, with the exception of the phrase, "or take any other action relating thereto."
Second.
Finance Committee recommends town meeting approval.
Planning Board.
Mary Wagon, Chair of the Planning Board. After a public hearing held on October 4th, 2017, the Planning Board voted 5-0 to recommend approval of Article 14 as printed in the warrant.
Any discussion on Article 14?
No.
Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Oh, I'm sorry, I need a two-thirds vote. This is a zoning board article. We need a two-thirds vote, folks. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Carries. Article 15, submitted by the Planning Board. Selectman Andrew Gottlieb.
Mr. Moderator, I move the town vote to approve Article 15 as printed in the warrant, with the exception of the phrase, "or take any other action relating thereto."
Second.
FinCom.
Finance Committee recommends town meeting approval.
Planning Board.
After Mary Wagon, Chair, Planning Board, after a public hearing held on October 4th, 2017, the Planning Board voted 5-0 to recommend approval of Article 15 as printed in the warrant.
Any discussion on Article 15? Seeing none, all those in favor, we need another two-thirds vote, please. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Article
16.
16, submitted by the Planning Board. Motion, Selectman Thomas O'Hara, please.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I move the town vote to approve Article 16 as printed in the warrant, with the exception of the phrase, "or take any other action related thereto."
Second.
Finance Committee recommends town meeting approval.
Planning Board,
Mary Wagon, Chair of the Planning Board. After a public hearing held on October 4th, 2017, the Planning Board voted 5-0 to recommend approval of Article 16 as printed in the warrant.
any discussion on this article? Seeing none, we need a two-thirds vote. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Article 17, Selectman John Cotton, please.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator.
Mr. Moderator, could I just make a comment? On the zoning articles, we need a two-thirds vote, so it'd be helpful if the moderator declared a two-thirds vote after these last votes we had. It wasn't done that way, so, I mean, we know it was two-thirds, but
believe I said
I think
I
you need to
called for a
declare a
two-thirds
two-thirds vote. No, that you got a two-thirds vote.
Okay.
Well, if I didn't call, it was my mistake, but I thought I called for a two-thirds vote. Most people are shaking their head yes. Whatever, it's a moot point at this point.
Mr. Moderator, if I may, we have a bylaw in town that allows the moderator to declare a two-thirds vote if he deems that to be the vote made by voice of members of the crowd. I would assume him calling for a two-thirds vote up front, then declaring the vote to carry would be compliant with the bylaw.
Okay, Article 17, Selectman John Cotton.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I move the town vote to approve Article 17 as printed in the warrant, with exception of the phrase, "or take any other action relating thereto."
Second.
FinCom.
Finance Committee recommends town meeting approval.
Planning Board,
After a public hearing held on October 4th, 2017, the Planning Board voted 5-0 to recommend approval of Article 17 as printed in the warrant.
any discussion on this article?
Two-thirds.
We need a two-thirds vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I declare a two-thirds vote passes. Article 18, Selectman Carol Sherman.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I move the town vote to approve Article 18 as printed in the warrant, with the exception of the phrase, "or take any other action relating thereto."
Second.
Finance Committee recommends town meeting approval.
Planning Board,
After a public hearing held on October 4th, 2017, the Planning Board voted 5-0 to recommend approval of Article 18 as printed in the warrant.
any discussion? Seeing none, we need a two-thirds vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I declare a two-thirds vote. Article 19, Selectman John Cahalan, please.
Mr. Moderator, I move the town vote to approve Article 19 as printed in the warrant, with the exception of the phrase, "or take any other action relating thereto."
Second.
FinCom.
Finance Committee recommends town meeting approval.
Planning Board,
After a public hearing held on October 4th, 2017, the Planning Board voted 4-1 to recommend approval of Article 19 as printed in the warrant.
any discussion on Article 19?
Yeah, John Bartlett, can everybody hear me?
Your left.
Yes, sir.
John Bartlett, 28 Sampson's Mill. I'd encourage the town people to vote against this article. For the residents who live around the C2 zoned areas, there's plenty of traffic in those areas on both 28 and the 151 areas that are being proposed for this. If you try to make a left turn out of any of those, you'll be there for a while. I don't think it's something that fits well with the character of this town, and I think it's going to create some traffic and safety issues. There's already some planning boards looking at those specific areas for traffic issues, and I think this is just going to bring more into those areas. And finally, I don't understand why, if it's good enough for the C2 areas by Route 28 and the border with Barnstable and the 151 down by Dino's, it's not good enough.
sorry, it's not good enough for the area by the town hall that's also zone C2. Thanks.
Thank you. Any further discussion on this article? Seeing none, we need a two-thirds vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
I want to hear that vote again. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I'm sorry, who made that comment? Would you please stand up and say that comment to my face? No, I didn't think so. The vote is being questioned. We'll have a counted vote. All those in favor, hold your cards up, please.
This.
Oh, I did definitely. Try two, I answered once already.
I think the no's have it. The no's are going to have this one. She got us. Yeah, she got us. 14.
20.
20.
Thank you.
I haven't been to McDonald's.
What did Debbie say? Oh, that's not gone yet.
All those opposed, please hold your cards up.
Yeah.
No's have it.
No, it doesn't have one-third.
It fails. Yeah, yes.
He's pissed.
57 to 173.
The vote is 57 ayes and 173 nays. Motion is defeated.
I guess we don't see one of these coming,
Article number 20. Is there a petitioner here? I don't have anybody listed.
Mr. Moderator?
Yes.
Yes, on to you.
State your name and street address, please.
Yes.
Hi, I'm Lisa McAdams. My street address is 8 Shipslanton Drive, Mashpee, Mass. I'm petitioning a zoning request. Okay.
Would you move the petition vote?
Yep, I'm moving the town vote to amend the zoning bylaw by amending the zoning map to include the parcels shown on 2017 Mashpee accessory maps as the map shown 13, Block 41, 43, 45, within the C3 Commercial Zoning District as shown on the plan filed with the town clerk entitled C-3 Zoning Map Change, October 2017.
Do I hear a second to that motion?
Second.
FinCom?
Finance Committee voted to take no action on this.
Zoning. Planning board.
Planning Board?
So after a public hearing held on October 4th, 2017, the Planning Board voted 5-0 to recommend approval of Article 20 as printed in the warrant. I'd like to say that as the chairman, I really thought this was an economic development initiative. The petitioner has a pretty good business plan. If I understand correctly, it's a pet-based business, and I think it would be a good use of that land. Thank you. Thank you.
Any other discussion on this article?
Mr. Moderator.
Is it two-thirds?
Mr. Moderator.
Yes.
Behind you, me.
Oh,
Mr. Gottlieb.
Looking out there.
The Board of Selectmen voted 4-0 with 1 abstention against this article. Notwithstanding the business proposal, we felt that it would equate to essentially spot zoning, and we've sought to try to keep the uses within town in consistent areas and didn't think putting a commercial operation in an otherwise residential zone made sense.
Any other discussion on this article?
Hi, Sharon DiFrancesco, 80 Situate Road. I wondered if any of the board members might confirm or deny that those 3 blocks are on Mashpee National Wildlife Refuge property. It looked like it on the map.
Planning Board?
I'd like to defer that to the town planner.
Well, the high school is on Mashpee National Wildlife Refuge property, if you want to put it that way. There is a thing called acquisition boundary that covers 5,871 acres in Mashpee and Falmouth. This is certainly within that area, but I don't see anybody making a move to put it into open space. It's already got a house on it. I was up just to comment on the spot zoning issue. There's not spot zoning. The C3 zone is right across the street, so it's a contiguous zone with the rest of the C3 along Route 130. So it really isn't spot zoning in terms of classical spot zoning.
Any other discussion on Article 20?
Yes, my name is Ann Zakachuk. I live at 131 Pickle Cove Circle, and this is residentially zoned, and my concern is that, yes, this would be a kennel and animal base, but I'm also under the standing that if it goes to a C3 zone, it is open to radio, television, restaurants, marine supply stores, and all that side of Route 130 down to the town center at Great Neck Road North is residential. The other side is commercial. So this is being put into a residential area.
Sure. Thank you. Any other discussion on this article?
Bill?
Yes, Mr. Selectman Cahalan.
The reason we considered spot zoning was this young lady who just got up, exactly that reason. If that side is determined that it should be a commercial area, why not do the whole side like most roads do? Why take one area and have it residential on both sides?
Any further discussion?
Yes, John Phelan, Dover Road, and I also want to echo what the selectman said. I think it is spot zoning. Once we start doing that, even though it may be across the street, as the town planner points out, there are other issues on Route 130 that we're going to open ourselves up to. So I hope that the town meeting here would vote down this article.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion on this article? Seeing none, we need a 2/3 vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No. I declare the motion loses. Article 21. Is the petitioner Charles H. Hunter here? Here. Yes, sir. Please speak.
Mr. Moderator, lady and gentlemen, I move that the town vote to authorize and empower the Board of Selectmen to prepare a plan laying out and defining Leatherleaf Lane, Bog River Bend, Fern Gully Pass, and Miller Farm Road, and to accomplish said purposes and for expenses related thereto, the town vote to appropriate and transfer from revenue available for appropriation the sum of $8,000 to the Leatherleaf Lane, Bog River Bend, Fern Gully Pass, and Miller Farm roadways account.
Second.
Finance Committee.
Finance Committee recommends town meeting approval.
Any discussion on Article 21?
To your left, Tom Bell.
Mr. Vidala?
My only discussion is, I'd like to thank the voters of Mashpee. I am retiring in January. This is my last town meeting as your town planner, and I've appreciated the support over the years. Looks like I got beat over the head on a couple zoning articles tonight, but in any case, it's been a great pleasure serving you, and I thank you.
This will be a majority vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Moderator, I make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
A motion to adjourn. I want to say before you leave, I know there was some emotional, particularly one article, a very emotional article, and I'm sorry that we had to cut it short, but for time's sake, for your sake, we'd like to try to be firm but fair. And thank you very much. I declare meeting closed.